So Ethan abused the out of his employee when he thought the camera was off. Here's that video.
He should have immediately gone on TV and Twitter and every space he could and tell his supporters to leave.
Absolutely.
And say what he never said.
Yeah.
This is un-American what you're doing. This is unacceptable. We never use those words. This is un-American. This is unacceptable. I'm completely against anyone storming the Capitol like this.
True.
Go home now, please.
Or you can use his own language but tell him to leave.
Yeah. And immediately, as soon as we know he was watching for hours, and we have testimony from his own daughter, from Ivanka, saying she tried time and again to get him to say something earlier on, and he didn't.
Like, she will read every book. Well, like, and she's very smart, and she dives deep into things, and
no, she doesn't. No, she isn't, and no, she doesn't. Candace diving deep. So, have you guys I saw this yesterday. I still am not sure what I'm supposed to be mad at. Okay, what are, I can't tell if it's just anti-fans or... So apparently Ethan has a button that he can push to delete like the last 30 seconds of stream or something so stuff doesn't get leaked.
Do we watch this?
And apparently, so Ethan abused the fuck out of his employee when he thought the camera was off. Here's that video.
Like I have this new clip thing where, like, I have a Discord and people that join my course, they can use they get access to
cover most of it. You're doing it.
What are you doing?
So awkward and terrible.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Just like this is what I'm talking about when it's always like.
We need to get home for our kids.
It's like, bro.
Oh no, I didn't want to finish it right now. I'm about finishing Wednesday.
On Friday, maybe. Is it?
You guys like.
All right, I'm taking my hand up. All right. Should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
What? Ay.
What? Okay. All right. Should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap it up.
What? Ay.
What? Okay, well,
I heard all that.
Thanks, Button.
All right.
Well, I'll just explain myself then. Like, it's like, you know, first of all, I appreciate the hard work.
I know you do.
And I loved it, and I really enjoy it. But it's like every time we do it, it's like...
What's our obsession with conservatives using your ADHD medication as an attack? One is a fundamental misunderstanding of medication. So people think that if you take an upper, you're always going to be like super hyper or excited, which is because the only recreational upper they've ever done is probably cocaine. Number one. And number two, they don't know anybody on any type of like ADHD medication that has ADHD. And then there's also the fact that you can, it's just another way to easily attack somebody. Like I used to be a gamer, so people would attack me for that. And then I've read Wikipedia, so people will attack me for that. And now it's just like taking medication, so people will attack me for that. It's just like whatever you can find, basically. Anything to avoid dealing with the substance of an argument, whatever you can do. That's the most important thing. The name of the game is always, okay, pivot, dodge, avoid, every time.
Like, the show is what it is, and...
I know,
it makes it...
I was being selfish.
No, fuck it, dude. That button fucked me, dude. Can you imagine that button fucking me over like that? Like, dude, I mean, it could have been worse. What kind of button is this, bro? Who's getting...
We had
What's with the button people?
Issues earlier.
Oh, that's another thing, too. Conservatives probably don't even believe in mental illness or any of that medication anyway, too. So, yeah, that also...
Like, dude, I mean, it could have been worse. Can you imagine that button fucking me over like that?
We had technical issues earlier. We had technical issues earlier, and it screwed some stuff up. I was running around in the back trying to fix everything, and I don't know. I guess that was still glitched out. It didn't work.
And bro, how am I ever going to trust the button? We need a button redundancy.
We need a button for the button.
Ugh.
Apologies.
All right. Listen, I do have to leave. We ran out of time.
Confused as whatever happened in that H3 clip. I don't know. He's mad. He gets a little bit mad, I think, in like the first like 20 seconds, but it's like nothing. Yeah, it's insane to me. There's like a 2,000 comment thread about how horrible Ethan is. I have no idea what the fuck is even going on here. This guy was talking shit.
You're not as smart as you think you are. Especially people like Destiny. You know, I watch that guy and he makes me just want to vomit because he sounds smart. He obviously has a raging drug problem. Okay, that guy is eating no food. He is eating lots of uppers and he thinks he's smart because he talks a lot. And he's got his brain's going brrr. kick that guy off of his drug bin.
By the way, just as a heads up, and I know this because of conservative friends I have in the industry, all of these guys do coke like crazy. There's a reason why they're so quick to jump to this. It took me a long time to learn this a long time ago when when Zerka would always accuse me of doing whatever, like Adderall or whatever. I didn't realize at the time, like 5 or 6 years ago, that so many different streamers abused amphetamines too. But yeah, this guy is a druggie, 1,000,000,000,000%. If he's that keen to project it, absolutely.
Binge or whatever, you know, like she's probably on prescription, you know. It's probably just smashing Adderall like it's his job. Take that away and see how smart he sounds, you know. It's very obvious.
Like, it's so funny, like these guys that are new to the scene that, yep, that's me. I just appeared 8 months ago. Yep, wasn't here before. It's literally always projection, yeah. Lex on January 6th is the bridge burn. Why do you guys keep posting this clip? This clip is like months old or a year plus old, isn't it? Why, are you guys pretending, or do you think that this is like a new clip?
Let me actually comment on that.
Or did he bring this guy back again and do a newer video on it?
Because once they got into the Capitol, they had no plan what to do next. What were they going to do? You know, steal stapler from Nancy Pelosi's office. They didn't seem to have a plan, and then what ended up happening, they left the building.
Well, that would be the case. That's not a big deal because their intention was not to overthrow. Their intention was to protest, because if the intention was to overthrow, it would be much more organized.
I think the evidence is pretty overwhelming that they intended to.
I hate that saying. If the intention was, okay.
To stop, they were there to stop the certification of the election. They were there to prevent Donald Trump from having to leave office. They just didn't have a good plan. This was the Keystone Cops.
So you're saying there is some statistically some possibility that this would have succeeded at halting the basic process of democracy.
It did. It did. It did. The insurrection part of January 6th was a success. It worked. The goal was to delay the certification of the vote. That's all the goal was, and it worked. The part that didn't work was the coup part that Donald Trump was trying. Pence didn't come through for him. That's the part that failed. The insurrection part worked.
You could imagine a scenario where it might have, if they had gotten lucky. Sure. If they had caught the vice president.
But what could have, if they caught the vice president?
They couldn't go on and certify then. He has to be there.
No, but don't you think that would resolve itself through police?
What is, it would resolve itself? How?
Police action and so on. My question is how much is this individual hooligans and how much of this is a gigantic movement that's challenging the very fabric of democracy?
It literally was tens of thousands of people. What do you mean?
A gigantic movement. But it was a small coup d'etat that could have actually made the transition much more difficult. Was there a scenario where Donald Trump stayed in office legitimately? No. But was there...
we don't know that. This guy doesn't even give enough credence to it. Although I don't know how old this video is or how much research he's done into it. But the issue is not... The realistic path where Donald Trump stays in power isn't... It's not that, oh my God, they took Pence and now everybody agrees that Donald Trump is the president. The issue is... the issue is that Pence gets either captured or the certification gets delayed some number of days, like more than a day, and then people aren't sure procedurally what the callback into Congress is supposed to look like. And then you have a lot of confusion around, well, we don't know what to do now. Trump is still president. Trump is still the head of the military and the head of all these executive agencies. And Trump and his cronies could continue to meddle with and fuck with. For instance, what if they try to call Congress back into session, but now those 11 senators that were supporting Trump, what if that grows to 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 now that don't want to participate in the certificate, right? These are all the issues that come up. People seem to think that the only path to success was some crazy, an F-16 bombing the Capitol or, helicopters landing, Apaches like landing on the Capitol with Trump stepping out and declaring himself a dictator. No, it would have just, as long as you can cause sufficient confusion and then more and more people start to kind of like move over, like, maybe this is some real shit. That's the issue, right?
A scenario where they created a great deal of chaos that further undermined our democracy. Absolutely, yes. Here's how it would happen, right?
Yes. Okay, true. Yeah, okay.
They capture Pence, right? They either kidnap him and try to ransom him, or which is what they were trying to do with the Michigan governor, Governor Whitmer, or they kill him. And then Donald Trump says, okay, well, there's no vice president, so you can't certify.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I don't remember how much of this I watched before. Yes, yeah. They don't even have to kill him, but just like weird shit. And it's like, well, I don't know what we're supposed to now. Yeah.
The Senate would choose someone else to be vice president, but Donald Trump says, no, that's not legitimate.
Do you think it's possible Donald Trump would say something like that?
Absolutely.
Would Donald Trump really do that?
I disagree with you.
He said that.
On what basis?
That morning that Pence should not certify.
Yes,
he said that morning.
He did. Multiple times.
Between sort of Twitter rhetoric.
No, he said it.
No, that's not just Twitter rhetoric. He said it in real life. He said it behind the scenes. He had a ton of people working collectively towards that behind the scenes over and over and over again.
At a rally.
Sure, rally rhetoric. And there is a threshold. It feels like a big leap.
He asked people.
It's not a big leap. That was the plan the whole time. It is a big leap, but he made the leap. He already leapt. It was a big leap. He leapt it. It's already been leapt. There are no more leaps to leap.
Around him in the Oval Office how he could make that happen. He tried to get a new person appointed attorney general who would do that. He tried to find legal justification for it.
How do you ensure when you're doing research, you're not just going down a confirmation bias rabbit hole? I'm a lawyer, so I try and read negative and positive treatments of case law. I mean, it depends on what you're researching. I guess like for the J6 stuff, there's so much testimony that I could just read what everybody involved in the situation thought that they testified to under oath. I should write out like a list of like how to check. Maybe I even have somewhere on my things, but like there's a list of like healthy epistemic practices that you can engage in to be like, think about like where people's motivations are, right? If 5 people that work for Pfizer come out and tell you this is the safest vaccine ever made, okay, well, that's not necessarily wrong just because you work for Pfizer, but obviously you're incentivized to say that, right? But let's say 5 people from a competitor come out and say the same thing. Well, okay, you give it a little bit more weight. They've got an incentive to lie about it, and they didn't. Let's say that 5 people in a research institution come out. Okay, well, you might even have better tools to investigate this. And it's like, okay, well, maybe they're from another country. You know, so you consider the source. You know, what's the proclivity for lying? Hopefully, you can evaluate the source and their methodology. Like, oh, this guy said the vaccine is safe because him and 4 friends got vaccinated. Well, that's not a very good. I don't know what the fuck that means, right? Or this guy said the vaccine is safe, and he's got a lab that researches this, but they're like 50-50 on making good. Okay, well, that's not very good, right? Yeah. So you evaluate credibility of sources. You can evaluate like the likely biases of sources. You can try to research opposing viewpoints. The issue for the J6 stuff is there are no good opposing viewpoints. Everybody admits that they basically either lied, like Giuliani and Powell, or they asked for criminal immunity, like Donald Trump, or they're just fucking, or they just admit to everything, like Bannon. I mean, what are you gonna? There's like no opposing. There is no like reasonable opposing view on it. I don't think. Yeah.
I think the evidence is overwhelming that Trump was supportive of efforts after the election didn't go the way he wanted to keep him in office. And whether that's legally actionable and whether one thinks that means he's a bad president or not is a matter of opinion. Mm-hmm. But facts are facts.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's possible for him to have stayed president in this kind of context. To me, it seems like a heated, just like you said, elections can even be violent. They're heated. People are very upset. When Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, I was in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
He's going to say Hillary Clinton was mad, or they said he was an illegitimate president, but it wasn't at all the same.
The amount of anger, I was just the energy I was getting from people. I mean, that if there was any way to channel that anger, I think people would be in trouble.
But let's anger. Yeah, I agree with that. And that is,
it's not about just emotions and angers. It's about a coherent plan, a coherent, intentional plan that was crafted, created, followed through on for months leading up to the certification. It wasn't just anger. It was like a very deliberate thing.
Is right, and elections are violent, as I said. But this is different. This is the person in the office of the presidency, using the power of the presidency to try to stay in office, to imperil people's lives, to distort our government on a scale we had not seen before. And these are not opinions of mine. We have the documentary evidence. We have the testimony from people about this. We can differ over what you think of his presidency as a whole. We can differ over whether you think he should be held legally responsible. Those are matters of opinion. But the facts are he sat on January 6th, watched it on TV, did not send did he ever send any protection for Congress? That is his job.
Lex is going to bring up that he tweeted for them to go home or stay peaceful.
And throughout continued to ask how this could.
Wait, why are people saying F? I'm showing absolutely nothing on my OBS. I don't see any lag whatsoever. Did it lag for everybody or?
The certification could be prevented.
To you, that's not incompetence, that's malevolence.
Absolutely. If I watch my children getting harmed and I don't do something about it, I'm watching it. And in fact, I take action that tries to help those who are doing the harm. You would not just say I'm an incompetent parent. You would say I was a negligent parent, and you'd call parental support to take away my children.
I was troubled by the way the press covered it, that they politicized the crap out of that. And not just the press, but also Congress itself. It just seemed like impeachment and all this, it just seemed to be a kind of circus that wasn't interested in democracy.
It has to be just, he just doesn't have the factual accounting of it.
Or nonpartisanship. So it's very difficult for me to see the situation with clear eyes because it's been colored by the press. It's very difficult for me to know what is even true.
Members of Congress, including our members of Congress from our district and others, right? Their lives were threatened. They were traumatized. I have a lot of students, at least a dozen, who are staff members. More than half are Republicans. Part of what traumatized them was that the president did not do his job to protect them. Yes. As a child would be traumatized, not only if harmed by someone, but if mom and dad don't do everything they can. One of the things that makes people feel safe is they know their parents, they know their person in authority can't always keep them safe, but they want to know the person's always trying.
I agree with you that listen, I'm somebody that believes in this kind of idea of family, especially people I work with. That to me is a high ideal to protect, but that's a little bit different.
It's his job.
Hold on a second. That's a little bit different than protecting democracy. Those are two different things. Protecting your employees and protecting democracy is an ideal. No, you could say he didn't protect either, but I think the criticism that he didn't protect the employees is one thing.
But the employees in this case are the ones carrying out democracy. Yeah. So it's like saying the general who doesn't protect his soldiers is maybe not protecting his employees. He's also not protecting the war effort, right? It is the people we're talking about, the people who are actually doing the work of democracy at that moment, the most basic function of democracy, which is certifying votes. And their lives were I'm telling you, I had students, one who works for Senator Romney, for example, who spent hours in a closet hearing people outside, looking on her phone, when is the president sending people to protect us so we can do our job? And she was not happy with the way the election turned out, but she was there to do her job because she believes in democracy, to service the Senate and the Senate's role.
What should have Donald Trump done without turning him into a different human being?
He should have immediately, just as we were watching things get breached, the moment that the members of the House and the Senate had to evacuate their respective chambers, he should have immediately gone on TV and Twitter and every space he could and tell his supporters to leave.
Absolutely.
And say what he never said.
Yeah.
This is un-American what you're doing. This is unacceptable. We never use those words. This is un-American. This is unacceptable. I'm completely against anyone storming the Capitol like this.
True.
Go home now, please.
Or you can use his own language, but tell him to leave.
Yeah. And immediately, as soon as we know he was watching for hours, and we have testimony from his own daughter, from Ivanka, saying she tried time and again to get him to say something earlier on, and he didn't. He watched it.
He can still criticize all the politicians. He can criticize everyone he wants, but he should have told him to leave.
All he has to do in that moment is basic protecting democracy, protecting the Capitol. Leave. Tell them to leave and do everything he can to find any kind of force he can give to go protect the Capitol.
I wonder how difficult it is to lose a presidential election.
It's happened so many times. We know.
I understand that, but it's especially when what is it? 80 million people vote for you, or like millions and millions and millions of people vote for you. It's crazy.
Now imagine how hard it would be to lose an election when more people voted for you than the other guy. Imagine how hard that must be.
Crazy. This democracy thing is crazy.
George H.W. Bush won a war in the Middle East, right? He had 90% approval rating, and then a year later lost the election to someone, Bill Clinton, he thought had none of the experience he had, someone he believed didn't have the right moral character.
Why do people treat Trump like a retarded child? It's the same thing as me, okay? People have no standards for the other side. And then if you violate any of the standards that you say you have, even slightly, or it's even perceived that you have, then people will treat you like a hellspawn, right? But the other side has no standards, okay? It's the same type of shit that we do when we do online debate. Well, what about Destiny? Didn't you not check read this exact thing, blah, blah, blah? And it's like, hold on, wait, excuse me, sir. You don't know anything about literally this entire topic. Why the fuck do you think you're going to dig through with a fine-tooth comb and try to hardcore act like you can stick in a strong position because you can micro-challenge one interpretation that I might have about an underlying citation on a paper that you read an AI summary of? Well, excuse me, what? No, the standards are there are no standards on the other side. There are no standards.
And Bush did everything he could to help the next president get started well, and they became good friends. Yeah. George W. Bush, he didn't love Obama. That's considered one of the smoothest transitions. George W. Bush ordered every single person in his administration to do everything they could to help the new administration. That's what a leader does.
Yeah, humility is one of...
Can you explain the psychology of Lex and why he is something Trump here? It just feels really good to be against an establishment. You feel like there's just something about like you walking around knowing, look at these sheep. Look at these sheep. I know the truth. I know so much about the wool that's been pulled over your eyes, you silly idiots. Like, you don't know anything like I know about everything.
One of the things I admire in leaders. Well, that felt heated. Speaking of which, can you just linger on how do you think we can heal the divide in this country? Do you think it's possible? There feels to be a strong division.
I think we can heal the divide. I think, as you said, there's so many opportunities with new technology to bring people together, just as we're using it to tear them apart. I have the best job in the world because I get to teach so many students. I'll have 300 in my class in the spring, in my U.S. history class. And what I found with my students is they're mostly not Democrats or Republicans. They mostly care about the same things. Every one of my students seems to care about climate change.
Oh, I thought you were going to say TikTok, but okay.
Yeah,
second to that, climate change.
And I think they offer a new future for us. And here's what else.
Or just red pill movement. This is the way you see the way you see society, the way you see the world. The extremism is there, and part of that is kind of to steal that perspective. I mean,
how do you think people can break out of that mentality, bring them back to other people? The issue is that once you start down a road, it's so easy for you to get pushed so quickly. Like I saw it happening with Sneeko, right? Where as soon as he got a little bit more radical. Like once he got banned from YouTube, Sneako's the next 10 years of Sneako's life was set in stone. Like, oh, he got banned from YouTube. Oh, well, everybody on that side is going to be shitting on him. Everybody on the other side is going to welcome him, and then that's it. Now they're gone forever. That because your critical thought is gone. It's all social. It's all social groups, right? Well, those people are mean to me. These people are nice to me. Why the f would I believe anything those people say when these people are so much cooler? And that's it.
Like, it's been amazing, particularly with the war since the war in Ukraine broke out. How many people in the U.S. will just be like, we can't stand for someone invading a sovereign country. And you're like, you are familiar with very recent history, right? Very recent.
Excuse me, sir. Let me introduce you to a little something called Iraq.
Like, I'm not saying like 80 years ago we did something like this. I'm saying we're still there. Like we still have troops in Iraq right now. We still have troops in Syria right now. Is it like what world are you living in that like?
How much? I haven't studied the Iraq War or even the 2013 Syrian War, Civil War a little bit. What were the pieces of territory that the United States took from these countries again? Because I haven't done it in depth. Was there like a Minnesota stand or something that we took from Iraq? I'm trying to remember. What was the territory that we took away? Did we do in East Virginia in Syria near the Iraqi border, or didn't we rename one of the countries around there after a state, Georgia or something? Maybe was that it?
The vehicle we have is our government. So what you think that's DC's motive? Is that they're just like, we just can't stand by while someone invades another country.
So what is your solution?
Well, I mean, like ultimately the solution would be for government to stop doing a lot of the evil stuff that they're doing.
But how do we get that? I'm asking you as like someone I consider a leader in this idea. What would your solution be? I'm not like trying to do gotcha.
Well, we're already in trouble if I'm the leader. But I really think that propaganda is incredibly powerful, like as I was saying before. And I think the fact that like there's so many like shows with huge audiences now that can kind of like shine a light on all this stuff, I think that's really powerful. So in short, I think like telling the truth is very, very powerful. And then in terms of what would actually roll back kind of government corruption, I don't know. You know, I mean, I think there's something going on. We have not figured it out yet, but I'm not saying anything positive about how Donald Trump actually governed, but the fact that there was so much hunger for a Donald Trump-like figure, I think shows something of people waking up. I think
even Bernie too.
Bernie
was on both sides.
I have no idea what's going on. There's something that's playing a low frequency every time he speaks.
Bobby Kennedy, like all
Honestly,
these guys.
I'm not just saying this because I'm Indian. Vivek.
Oh yeah, 100%. Vivek Ramaswamy was like.
I mean, he
I love Vivek. I love Vivek because he's Vivek and RFK are like your easiest retard proxies in all of recent media. Like you just ask somebody like, oh, what's your opinion on like RFK or Vivek? And if they give you any remotely positive answer, you know that you can safely ignore every single thing this person has to say about basically every single thing in life because this person is probably a fucking retard. I love these people as dipshit proxies. Oh God.
Took a very hard line on government corruption. I mean, when he was on the pod, I was like, what if this corruption benefits us in certain ways? Like hypothetically, what if these government policies, this interventionism that we're doing benefits us and gives us a better lifestyle? Would you, if you found that out, would you still want to go through it? And would you still want to go through it if it meant getting rid of the managerial class? That's what he talks about. I'm sure you've heard the term.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, the people deserve a government that represents them for better or worse. So he's like, I will take a shittier America or higher price for food or higher price for medication, whatever it is, if we're actually making the decisions or there are people representing our decisions.
Yeah, how would you answer that? Well, I think that, so I'd say that I think if there's one like kind of universal truth that I found in my life is that like.
Is he going to say less government means more freedom means better people? I hate libertarians. They just should never be invited on to talk about politics at all. It's just a waste of time. They never have anything of value to say.
Lying to yourself is destructive. I think
lying. Okay.
It's worse than lying to other people. And lying to other people is bad too, but lying to yourself is like the most powerful, destructive thing you can do. And so if it were the case that us going in, mass slaughtering a bunch of people in Iraq and Libya and Afghanistan and Syria and Yemen and Somalia and all these places, that gave us a higher standard of living. Then let's look ourselves in the mirror and have that honest conversation. Is that who we are? Is the role of the United States of America that we are the world empire and we're going around to take your shit and give it to us? And if you want to have that honest conversation with yourself, and then
how is he libertarian and pro-Trump? Because like every single person today that is like not, there are so many people that just want to like swallow Trump cum and pretend it's mayonnaise. I don't know why. They can't just say that like, oh, I'm pro-Trump or I'm a conservative. So there's like centrist, and it's like, well, are you actually a centrist or are you a conservative? You're a conservative. Or like, oh, I'm libertarian. Okay, what kind of libertarian are you? Well, I think we need way stronger border control, and I definitely think that we need to. I definitely think that we need to vote for Trump. I'm sorry, we have to. There's just no other way. It's like, what about Trump as libertarian? Trump probably doesn't even know what libertarian means, right? You know that, right? Nothing about you. You're just a conservative. Okay, gotcha. Nothing. There are so many people that have all these other labels. It's like, just you want to vote for Trump. Just say you're a Trump supporter, or you can do anti-establishment if you want. A lot of these people are anti-establishment, anti-institution, but.
And conclude, yes, that's what we're going to do, then at least have that honest conversation. Don't sit here and pretend.
I've had that conversation. This is why I know I ain't shit. I've been like, yeah, all right. My life is much better. So either I can leave or I can just accept this is what it is, and I ain't leaving.
Well, fair enough.
Unless there's another empire coming, and I'm jumping ship.
That's the first step would be to ask that question. But I just don't believe that it's true. I think that it has made there's special interests that have benefited tremendously off of all of those wars. But I don't know. I mean, I'm like looking around the country. It's like, no, I don't think this has been good for not only our economy, but just like our soul. Yeah. I don't think it's, I know it's a Biden thing. He said the soul of the nation or whatever.
I agree.
But there's something to that.
You want people to be proud of the country they're living in. I think American pride right now is at an all-time low, and you got to give them something to be proud of. I've actually thought a lot about this. Like a friend of mine, I got to give him credit, Ben Uyeda. I was like, why are you proud to be American? And he's like, I think you can be the best version of yourself here. And I thought that to me is America and something you still can be represented by. Yeah. And but it was important. It was like July 4th, and we were thinking about like doing a piece on it. And I was like, yeah, why should we? I think we have to bolster some like American sentiment. This is a great country. This is amazing. There's always opportunity. We get to be fucking comedians running around talking shit. And we actually get to
Oh, this guy got to be a leader in this space anyway. I have no idea. I guess he talked to Rogan once, and Rogan thought he sounded good, and he gets to slip in because he's a libertarian, so he doesn't seem partisan. But yeah, Dave Smith should never be called a libertarian. You cannot. The fact that he's made it this far and had so many conversations and couldn't explain what like the non-aggression principle is as a libertarian, which is something that all of us, anybody my age, we all learned this when we were 18, 19 years old, debating atheism on the internet because we were all libertarian atheists who supported Ron Paul. The fact that he didn't know what the non-aggression principle was, that's unbelievable. That's unreal to me. That's impossible. That's impossible.
Provide for our families. But he brought that up, and he was like, yeah, we can be the best version of ourselves here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always been the best thing about America is that you could kind of be the author of your own story, and you can kind of like, it's never been perfect, never will be perfect, but it's like, yeah, you could like make something of yourself, and I think we very much take it for granted. It has not been true in most of the world for most of human history that you could like come from something kind of humble and make something really cool of yourself here, and that's awesome. But in terms of like, say, like the war stuff and dominating the rest of the world, I don't see any evidence that that's connected to, like that the two are connected. I mean, look, even after we get hit on 9/11, we launched the war on terrorism in late 2001. We started the war in Afghanistan. 2003, the war in Iraq. In 2008, we have the worst financial recession in 100 years. Yeah. I don't like see this evidence that it's like, oh, this is building up our great economy. Well, it's really beneficial to Lockheed Martin. And
but to the average American, it's not.
I don't think so.
Guys, that segment is brought to you by our newest partner, Steak. Okay, you guys already know Steak. You know it because
I never want to go down this rabbit hole because it's so fucking retarded. But like, here, like, just think about this for 1 microsecond. Okay, think about this for 1 microsecond. All right. Let's say that you were like a shadow figure owner of the United States, okay? Let's say that you are a shadow figure owner of the United States. Wouldn't you want the country to do really well? Like, why would you want to destroy the country for war and shit? Wouldn't that just be retarded? Now, the counter to that is, well, obviously, Destiny. It's because they have stake in the military-industrial complex. Well, okay, but like, if these are the shadow owners of the country, why wouldn't they just get stake in like Silicon Valley and do that instead? Why would you want to have partial ownership in these, no offense, these incredibly unreliable military stocks, okay, these private military contractor stocks, why wouldn't you want to just have like more shares of like Apple and Amazon and Facebook, and then like do weird shadow corrupt shit to rig your tech industry? Wouldn't there be so much more money to make there? Wouldn't that be way better if you were the shadow guy pulling the string? Like imagine like, okay, I have secret control of the United States. What am I going to do? Okay, well, I could take 5% in the military industrial complex, start worldwide wars that undermine our security domestically and undermine the view that people have of us internationally, and potentially put us on a path towards, you know, the destruction of, at the very least, the established world order that we're basically the head of. Or I could just take like 5% in all of our tech stocks and just spam bots to every other country in the world to destroy their internet services or something. Like, wouldn't you want to do that? Like, how does it make sense you would do it through war? That's such a cringe, low profit way of doing things. I don't know. Very before this, Shultz stumbled into a really good question about bots on Twitter. Candace, I'm so curious what he has to say. Oh, I think he's Jewish, and does he support Israel? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't remember what his position was. No, he's like a weird Palestinian simp, right? What do we have to say about Candace?
Well, actually, can you say how this all started percolating? What this last week, I think we saw it, you know, reach a zenith, as Akash would say.
Well, with the Candace stuff specifically, I mean, has really touched a nerve.
Let me tell you something. I'm terrified of Candace. I hope that she does not fixate with at all, have a fixation with me at any point in time. And if she does, I apologize, because she will not let it go.
Have you met her? Do you know Candace?
No.
She's like the sweetest lady. Like you meet her, she's just like a total sweetheart. It's very weird though.
Black people are happy she got her eyes off of us right now.
Talk about the Jews.
Oh, she'll be back.
I hate it. Also, like, just because somebody's nice in real life doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? Especially if they're a scammer. People would say this about the Tates all the time. The Tates are so good. They're so nice. They're so personal. They're so funny. Yes, if you do sex trafficking, that's kind of the whole point, right? It's like meeting a scam artist to be like, the guy actually, he's like a pretty solid dude. He seems like pretty cool. Like, he's like really funny. He's personable. Like, I don't know, man. He's kind of convincing. Yes, he's a scammer. That's his fucking job. Yeah, no shit.
Thank you. Enjoy your moment while she's focused on us.
No, she's Thanos, bro. Like, she does not play. She will read every book.
Well, like, and she's very smart, and she dives deep into things. And
no, she doesn't. No, she isn't. And no, she doesn't. Candace diving deep. So, have you guys ever heard about this, like, one thing that's the most popular Nazi talking point of all time? Well, I read the first sentence on Wikipedia about it, and man, that's pretty crazy, ain't it? This is your job, motherfucker. What are you doing? What? Like, give us some original research, or at least read anything about this.
She's diving right now into some wild conspiracies that I don't really know. Like, I don't know enough about whether she's right or wrong or whatever. Yeah. But there is something that I got to say to, like, you know, like to the thing you're alluding to there. It's like there are so many of these conservative types, the Ben Shapiro types, who
nice that we backed off of Candace immediately so we could simp for our fucking friend, and then we refocus on Ben Shapiro, the person that she hates, and a person that you can hate. Nice.
And Candace was taking the gloves off with black people. Yeah. They were all like, you know what I mean? And like, and look, it's okay to take the gloves off with all groups of people sometimes. Sometimes you need tough love. But when she was like, I mean, and Ben Shapiro himself will take the gloves off with black people and be like, oh, listen, you want to know why you have this? Because you're committing too much crime. You're committing too much crimes. How about you stay married? How about you don't have kids out of wedlock? How about this? Good point, as soon as so he was nailing it. And then, no, but then it's like, if you direct.
Doesn't Destiny always brag about being so nice in person? That's in response to other people saying I'm a piece of shit in person. What? That's never as an excuse for my political views. What do you mean?
Any of that energy toward Jewish people. And again, all of these things are like, the problem is like when you speak in terms of collectives, you always get everything wrong. Because if you're talking to the black community and you're like, hey, black people, you need to take care of your kids. There's like some black dad who's a great dad who's like, who are you talking to? Take care
also, they know. There's no black people. We gotta take care of them. Yeah, thank God this fucking little hat guy told us we gotta take care of them.
Yeah, like the black guy who's not taking care of his kids is like, I know I'm supposed to. I don't want to. but so like,
you have black kids. I said I was getting milk on purpose. I needed an alibi. They're easy when these little Jewish kids, they don't run as fast. But these black ones will fall.
Listen, he sold me Fent. I would never sell Fent. I only sell opioids and opioid derivatives.
Come back and goes, yeah, it's easy when they're little white kids. Sure, I take care of them. But like again, like look, but what Ben Shapiro would say to that, right, is like, okay, but I'm not talking to those people. But we're talking about statistics here. And it's like, okay, fine. But look, then in this situation where for the last 10 months, the state of Israel has just been like mass slaughtering these captive people in the most horrific way. But as soon as you take the gloves off with them, it's like, all of a sudden Ben Shapiro's the woke. All of a sudden he's the same thing that he's been railing against the whole time. I'm offended. Safe space on college campus and all that. So I'm so disgusted.
About your feelings.
Yeah, that guy. They do. Oh, Mr. Free Speech. So I'm so disgusted with that. And I think what Israel's doing is totally wrong. But then, of course, with all these things, there are excesses on the, anti-Israel side. And I do see that all over Twitter too. I mean, in my replies, people who are trying to back me up, first of all, I'm Jewish. So I'm probably not going to love, your gas all Jews comment. And then, second of all,
you didn't like DEFCON 3 on the Jews.
But then you're one of the good ones. Yeah. Which, like, listen, if it ever goes down, I'll take it. But for now, I don't need it. But then it's like, you're also like, do you think you're helping me?
Yeah.
Like, do you think you're helping the argument right now? Because no, you're making us all terrible.
I think what you do well, and I think what anybody who's actually pro-Palestine should do is really stamp out anti-Semitism. Be like, yo, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Israel and Jewish people are different things. I don't support Israel and Jewish people. No issue with you. It's a government.
100%. Especially because that's the tactic of all the pro-Israeli people. So you're almost embracing their whole thing was that they go, oh, you're criticizing Netanyahu. Well, that's because you hate Jews. Yeah. And then it's like, so if you hand them that also, you're falling right into their trap. It's the same thing. It's always the same with all these like weird, there's always like these kind of movements that seem like they're enemies, but they weirdly help each other. So like something like Charlottesville was like the best thing for MSNBC. Because they're like, oh yes, perfect. See, these are the Trump supporters. Even though it was like 200 people. It was
Bro, holy shit. This picture goes so hard. What the Jesus. I'm curious why Destiny speaks of marriage as if it's a burden for the woman to bear. 99% of the time, the woman earnestly seeks out marriage and a family, and the man seeking a family is willing to propose to that end. But Destiny discusses marriage like the man begs the woman and she accepts it begrudgingly. No. Is there a bullshit-ass way to illustrate this in a graph? I think the issue is... Let's say there are paths in life that you can take, okay? If you were to sell your stock when it gets back to normal, do you have to pay capital gains tax? No. No. Let's say that blue is the married path, okay? Let's say that this is a path that you take once you're married to benefit the marriage, okay? Let's say that green is a single man. Oh, wait. Blue is the path for marriage, okay? No, wait. Blue should be for boy. Hold on. Blue and pink mixed together make purple? Wait, I should just do this as a line. Let's just make a line. Okay. Let's say that blue is like the ideal, maximize your own individuality male path. Pink is the ideal, maximize your individuality female path. And purple is the like ideal, maximize your marriage path, okay? The issue with the traditional roles in relationships is that these two paths are pretty close to each other. A man trying to optimize in a traditional relationship for his family is going to be similar-ish to a man optimizing for himself, because usually in a traditional relationship, the man is the breadwinner and provider. So some of the most important contributions that a man makes to a relationship are things related to financial security, okay? In the event that the marriage ends, the man going back to his life isn't really hurt that much. He's still been working at his job. He's still growing his career. He's made a bunch of investments that are going to continue to serve him later in life. For a woman in a traditional, I'm reiterating, it's traditional gender roles because obviously you could swap these and it would be different. But for a woman to commit to a relationship, she's starting to incur costs that are very beneficial to the marriage, but are very detrimental for maximizing her singular well-being. So things like quitting your job and then becoming a stay-at-home like caretaker, and then things like having children and then starting to invest and commit heavily into time for that. If the marriage ends, now these are good things for building a marriage and a family, but if the marriage ends, in order to get back to normal, the woman has sacrificed a ton of stuff here, and the man hasn't really made the same types of sacrifices. This is generally why things like child support and alimony exist, is to try to even out the massive difference in investment away from a best possible future that a person makes in a relationship, namely the woman, more generally the woman, not always, right? You can swap these roles out if the woman is the breadwinner and the man is the one forgoing his career, etc. Yeah, but that's usually why alimony, some type of restitution. I mean, alimony is rare. It's like 10% of cases, but at the very least, child support if the woman is going to hold on to the child and be the primary caretaker. But do you think modern marriages follow this generality? Yeah, I think they still do, for sure. It's trending away from this, but I think in general they still do. There are some biological realities you can't escape from. Like, for instance, like my wife would never be the primary breadwinner because biologically I always be able to beat the shit out of her. Ugh! Just kidding. But things like childbearing and getting pregnant and everything are things that are always going to be a woman's burden. Or I guess unless you're conservative because you think that maybe men can have children because you think that XY intersex people with ovaries. Just kidding. But in general, this has been evening out a bit more. But it's probably always going to skew a little bit towards the woman making a bigger investment. Did you watch the chemtrail whistleblower video? Nope. I'm good. Do you think it can be viable for both parents to work and use the extra income for nannies and such? Maybe, but childcare, unless it's changed significantly since when I was a kid, childcare can be really expensive. Childcare is just really expensive. It's just a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Bro, even when I was in school, babysitters from like high school would get paid like $10, $15 an hour sometimes. That shit is expensive as fuck. This is why things like kindergarten and preschool are so important. So you can get those motherfuckers out of the house and send mom back to work. Back to the factory, mom. Get out of here, you lazy bitch. This is also one of the reasons why having larger families is nice, because having family members nearby, like aunts or uncles or grandparents that can watch kids, is so helpful. In the US, you don't get a refund at the end of the year for the extra that you paid in childcare. Oh, it's a European. Everybody pat this dude on the back. You're so precious. In the United States, we don't give a fuck. There is no mandatory paternity, maternity leave, or paid childcare. Good one, though. That's funny. We have the best childcare in the world. You know what that's called? It's called an iPad, okay? You get a double income, though, no? Makes it easier to afford childcare. It depends on the job that the woman has, but the idea that sometimes you can't even make back what you would pay in childcare for a woman's income. It's just a lot. It's just, childcare is expensive, man. And you're also having the negative detriment of negative detriment as opposed to positive detriment. You have the detriment of you've got to take your child to, a babysitter or daycare that might be raping your kid or some crazy shit, or not feeding them or beating the shit out of them. And now mom doesn't get to spend money. It's really expensive. If the mom has an established career or something, it can be different. But what if children are not involved? Would maintaining same standard of living be the goal for the spouse who sacrificed? Well, if there aren't children involved, then that's bullshit. Then everybody should just be working and there's no problems with anything. How much is childcare annually? Would you say more than $40K? It would depend on how often your kid is being seen and if you have a babysitter or if you're taking them to a daycare. But daycare can be important to socializing your child? Maybe. Yeah, socialize in kindergarten or pre-K. Preschool. Wait, is pre-K and preschool the same thing? Does it go preschool, pre-K, kindergarten? No, it goes preschool, then kindergarten. Preschool is probably a subset of pre-K. People get married and don't want to have kids. If they divorce, she still gets all that shit, right? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I don't know how. It would depend on your lawyers, I guess, at that point. Marriage is like a business. When you get married with somebody, what you're doing is you're creating a single legal entity, and all of the assets that you accumulate under that legal entity, both of you are considered 50% equity owners essentially in the marriage. That's where the split comes from. It's not so much that when she leaves, she takes half. What's happening is when she leaves, she's cashing out on her 50% equity in the relationship once you guys have gotten married without having some kind of prenuptial agreement or postnuptial agreement signed. That's why that's where the division comes from. If, yeah. What about common law marriages? In my opinion, that's retarded. I mean, it depends. Apparently, J.K. Rowling is being defamation sued by the Boxer Girl. How would she show damages? I don't know. You can have defamation per se where you don't have to prove damages to win the case. Also, the UK is... If the Boxer Girl, assuming she's not retarded, if the Boxer Girl is suing J.K. Rowling for defamation, then my guess would be the Boxer Girl is 100% an XX chromosomed woman, right? Oh, never mind. The suit is in France. Never mind. Because in the United Kingdom, the standards for defamation are lower, but I believe it's, well, in the US, I shouldn't say, I guess. In the US, I believe the truth is an absolute defense for defamation. Even if you prove a person is acting in malice, the truth is an absolute defense. So if they went to the UK and she sued her for defamation, I imagine at some point in that suit, you're going to have to do a test to figure out. And if she tests and she comes back XY chromosome or intersex or something like that, then it'd be like, oh, well, you lose, I guess. Are you saying a guy who doesn't want to get married but have kids is essentially a massive red flag because he's trying to get the girl to sacrifice a career for him without strong commitment from his end? Yes, that's a huge red flag. If a guy is trying to get with a girl and wants to marry, or not marry her, but wants to be with her and have a family, but he doesn't want to get married, the guy is basically telling the woman, I need you to make life-altering investments in a joint relationship, but I'm not willing to make any of the same commitments to you. That's a massive red flag. Yeah. Destiny, the division has gotten more murky as women are becoming on par with men. Since alimony and splitting assets was seen as restorative to the woman who forwent a career, if you were to keep all your accounts separate, then you likely wouldn't need a prenup if the man and woman are on par in terms of income. But if you have joint accounts, if you're on par with income, sure. But I mean, you would still be, you're accumulating joint assets. They would just be in two separate bank accounts. And if they're on par, it wouldn't matter, right? Sure. A big problem is that women typically want to stay at home after a child is born. They want to enjoy quality time with them. Then even if you agreed both of you would work, you are screwed. I mean, that's part of the conversation you have to have before having a kid, I guess. I don't know. That is what the guy is saying in theory, but practically, I believe a lot of men just don't grow up valuing marriage as a concept. Dating or pairing, so to speak, is a desire, but marriage itself is impractical in our minds, whereas from my experience, women very much value marriage as sign of commitment. Okay, I don't know. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. Illinois, 2 kids, 3 years and 5 months. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 hours each day. $350 for 2 weeks. That's with a family and friends discount. Do you think it could be in America's best interest to pass a Family First Act where we attempt to allow families to live off of a single-family household to bring together a sense of community? I don't think so. I think the issue is that the issue is that people assume that, especially women, we made a lot of assumptions about women that are probably not true. One of the big assumptions is that having children and having little babies and being a mom is like the most fulfilling thing in life, and women will just always want to do that. And even if you offer them jobs and shit, they're not going to choose that over how cool being a mom is. And that's not the case. That it is a hard decision. It is a big sacrifice, and there's a lot going on there. So it's people need to accept that reality first, and then once we've accepted that, then we can talk about trying to incentivize children more. But people don't want to recognize that, because the people that are most invested in having more children are conservatives, and they just believe that women are like biologically equipped to, pump out children and love it every single second, which is just, that's not the case. So yeah, I think that like the feminine traits and all of this stuff in femininity has kind of been like the support role in every game ever. You know how you go in like lobbies and people are like, oh, I don't want to play support. Like, no, bro, support's the most important role in the game. Like, we need you to be supported. It's such a good, and it's so much fun. You can roam the map and you don't have to wait, and it's so cool. Like, that was like being a woman. And now that women are like playing carry, they're like, okay, wow, support actually is dog shit. And we're like, no, trust me, it's so much fun. It's like, why don't you play support? Whoa, 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 whoa. Would you support genetic engineering to make children less annoying so we can bolster the birth rate? Jesus.